It is the dawn of a new day. Maybe that's a tad dramatic to say, but that is kind of how I feel. Welcome, everybody, to Sonic Safety. All right. If you knew me before, you knew that I had another podcast called Trucking Safety. And, you know, I kind of had this idea behind that name, and the idea just never really kind of took shape. I mean, it was kind of like a little play on words, and no one got it, including myself, kind of. So, and then it just kind of turned into be like a generic type name, and I was like, well, let's do something different here. Let's get Sonic Safety a try, and so that is what we are doing now. We are called Sonic Safety. It's the same thing. It's me. It's Sam. It's your favorite safety guy out there. But I've rebranded the show, retitled it, and away we go. So, anyways, if you have not heard Trucking Safety, you never did, what we are doing is we're talking about safety in the transportation industry. That is what I do. That is what I'm good at. And there is a lot of knowledge in my head, I should say. Maybe. I don't know. Some might argue that. But I feel like I've got a lot of knowledge in my head, and I want to share that with the world. And I don't know if the whole world is going to listen, but they should, because it's quite entertaining. So, and if you don't want to listen, if you want to watch, I've got the camera going as well. I know if you listen to one of the episodes of Trucking Safety, you might have heard me say I'm not going to do video. Well, I have decided against that. I'm going to do video again. Okay, we're going to bring it back now. Some people like listening, some people like watching. It's totally up to you. I don't care. If you want to do both, hey, great. You'd be like a super fan. But anyways, but the point I want to get across today is that I am back, okay? Sonic Safety is here. I'm back doing my podcast. It took me a little longer to get this thing going than I kind of planned. Life kind of got in the way, and we'll get into that here in just a minute. But before we do, I want to give a massive shout out to my sponsor, Ewing Safety and Industrial, okay? You guys have heard me talk about them. They are fantastic. I like everything they do, including right now. Okay, listen up. You might be like, what is Ewing Safety and Industrial? Here's the deal. They do everything, okay? When it comes to safety equipment, safety needs, anything you need when it comes to safety stuff, tools, all that kind of stuff they got. Right now, they just put out the Lincoln Electric. You ever heard of them? Of course you've heard of Lincoln Electric. They are the world leader in arc welding, robotic welding systems, plasma, oxy-fuel cutting, all that kind of stuff. And here's the deal. If you need anything from Lincoln Electric, go see my friends at Ewing Safety and Industrial. They can hook you up, all right? So visit them at ewingsafety.com, or here's a better thing. You could call them. I shouldn't say it's a better thing. Here's an alternative. You can call them, 815-513-0214, or here's the better thing, okay? I'll say this. Go visit them. They're in Morris, Illinois. If you're in the area, definitely make the trip out to Morris, Illinois. See them, say hi, tell them I said to give them a high five. They'll appreciate that. But make sure you check out my friends at Ewing Safety and Industrial. Cool? All right. So, like I said, we are now Sonic Safety. All right. So, I kind of laid out some of the parameters that we were going to try to do. We are, with Trucking Safety, if you listen to that for a while, I said one of the big things I'm not going to do is I don't really want to have guests on. I'm going to change that for Sonic Safety. Now, that's not to say we're going to have guests every time. Like today's episode, we don't have any guests. But we are going to do that for some episodes. Like I said, not all of them, but for some of them. But there's, you know, that is one thing that I'm going to try to do. So a lot has happened when the last time we spoke, all right? We had Christmas happen. We're in a brand new year, 2025, and I gotta say, I'm not here to bang my own drum or anything like that, but I don't think I've put 2024 on anything. I think every document I've written that has a date on it, I have been good with 2025. So I'm just saying, not patting myself on the back, but I kind of am. But we're in a new year. We had Christmas. We got a new president in the White House now since last time we spoke. That's a pretty big deal. And the other big piece, and one of the reasons why I haven't been able to get this thing ramped up as quickly as I had wanted to, is because I started a new company. Okay, I started Wasserman Diesel House. And some of you might be saying, well, you kind of had Wattsman Diesel House, didn't you? And yes, I had always been kind of toying around with the idea. I've done some stuff under that branding, under that name, but I never really had taken it, I don't want to say seriously, but I never really put all my energies behind it. That's fair to say, I think. But now, now I have, okay? I have officially decided we're going to do Wattsman Diesel House. And you might be saying, okay, well, that's cool. What's Wattsman Diesel House? If you're watching the episode, you can see I got my Wattsman hoodie on. And you might be saying, okay, cool. You're going to do Wattsman Diesel House. What exactly is that? Well, glad you asked. Wattsman Diesel House. It is all your safety needs under one roof, okay? So I do, there's, the word consultant gets thrown out a lot, and that word has its place in certain things, but it's not necessarily a favorite word of mine. I'm not a huge fan of consultants. There's good ones out there, don't get me wrong, but I've worked with a number of consultants that would come in and say, this is wrong, do this better, give me my money, I'm out of here. I don't want to do that. That to me doesn't help anything. Like 9 times out of 10, the person who had hired the consultant, they know what the issue is. Okay, they're not usually dense enough to go, oh, I didn't even know that was a problem. They're hiring the consultant to help them fix that problem. And I just worked with a lot of bad consultants, and so I didn't want to call myself a consultant. But what Wattsman Diesel House does is we will come in. We will take a look. We will assess the company. We will see what needs fixing, where the holes are, where the gaps are in your safety program. And then we will work with you to fix them. Okay? Basically, I will come in and I'll be your safety guy for you. That's what I like doing. I like working. Okay? I know a lot of times people are looking for that, the whole thing anymore is automation. How can I make money in my sleep? And there's a place for that, and there's industries for that and whatnot. But I'm a worker, okay? I like working. I like doing things. I like working on things. And so I want to come in and I want to be your safety guy. I want to see where the holes are in your safety program. I want to fill those in. I want to evaluate. I want to then follow up and make sure that any sort of safety policy we've put in place is actually working. Okay, because that's the other big thing is that you could put all the policies that you want in place, but if they don't work, they don't work. And quite frankly, in the safety world, if you put policies in place and they're not working and you just keep on with those policies, they can actually come back to bite you later on. And so one thing that Wattsman Diesel House, what I really wanted to do with that is I wanted to make sure that we weren't just a consultant, but we were a partner. Okay, we're going to come in, we're going to look, evaluate, put a plan in place, and then we'll help you execute that plan. That is what we do. Okay, so if you have any safety needs for your trucking company, please reach out. Okay, sam@wattsman.com, WATTSMEN.com, sam@wattsman.com. If you're watching, I'll try to put it up on the screen there so you could see that. But that's what Wattsman Diesel House does. Okay, that's our specialty. We can come in, we could do, compliance audits, make sure it's all good, put safety policies in place. You need safety documents. You realize you don't have like a drug and alcohol policy in place. We can help you out with that. Okay, you need an incentive piece put in place. You need a discipline policy put in place. These are important documents to have. And if you don't have them, you could be up a paddle. That's good. Up a creek without a paddle. You get what I'm saying? So that's what Wattsman Diesel House does. I'm sure if you listen to Sonic Safety, we're going to talk more about it down the road. But that is why it has taken me a little bit to get this Sonic Safety podcast up and rolling. That has taken up quite a bit of my time. If you've ever built a business or run a business or anything like that, you realize just how much time that takes. And I'm right in the middle of it. But I wanted to get back into Sonic Safety because I love podcasting. Okay, this is something that I've always loved doing. I went to school for communications, so this is like right in my wheelhouse. This is what I like to do. As far as like format goes, when it's just me on the podcast, we're gonna keep them short. Again, I had a lot of feedback on that, honestly. And people like the shorter podcasts. And quite frankly, I do too. I can talk and talk and talk for as long as you want me to, but no one wants to hear an hour of me just talking. It's pushing it if I speak for a half hour, of talking. So we're going to keep the format short. Now, if I do have guests on, those are going to be a little bit longer, okay? Because I want to make sure that we fully dive into their story and hear them. So here is what my vision is for Sonic Safety, okay? First off, I want this to be entertaining, okay? I know that safety talk can be a tad monotonous, okay? Nobody likes safety. I shouldn't say nobody. A lot of the people out there don't like safety. They find it boring. They find us to be kind of like a wet blanket. We're just the buzzkill of the industry. I am here to tell you that that is not the case, okay? We're not the buzzkill. We're the guys trying not to get people killed, okay? That is what we do. And so some of the policies and the regulations that are out there, those are in place so that everyone can get home at the end of the day. And as safety people, it is our job to make sure that those policies are followed because they're there for a reason. Now, you can make the argument, and I have seen that there are some companies out there that maybe take it a step too far in some of their, how do we say this, in some of their monitoring practices. I'll give you that. There are some that I've seen that's like, wow, that's quite a bit. That's not what I like to do. That's not how I run safety. We're all adults in this industry. I'll put the policies in place, you follow them, and we'll be A-okay. But with this podcast, I want to make sure that anything we talk about when it comes to safety is first and foremost entertaining. Because if it's not entertaining, you're not going to listen. That's just how it goes. So that is my number one vision, priority, whatever you want to call it, for Sonic Safety, is to make sure that it is entertaining, okay? We're going to talk about a lot of safety stuff. We're going to talk a lot of legalese language, but I'm going to make it entertaining for you, okay? I'm going to break it down so that you can understand it, and I'm not calling anybody dumb out there, but I'm going to break it down so that it's easy to understand and so you know what we're talking about, because I want you guys to know this stuff. That leads into my second vision for Sonic Safety, is I want this to be informative. Like, I want you guys to understand what we're talking about when it comes to safety stuff. What do I mean when we're talking about, driver qualification files? What goes into that? What do I mean when we're talking about ELDs and 11-hour driving and 14-hour on duty and all that kind of stuff? I mean, I'm sure a lot of you have a good understanding of that, but there are some, little idiosyncrasies in that can get a little confusing. I want to take away that confusion. I am trying to make everyone aware and understand what safety is. It's not just a bunch of rules. It's not just a bunch of regulations. It is really a foundation, okay, for a company. Your company should be built on a foundation of safety. If it's not, it's going to be in trouble eventually, okay? And here's the other thing too. I am not a fearmonger, okay? I don't do safety to scare people. I just tell you what happens, okay? If you do not prioritize safety in your organization, things will happen, okay? Like, you can run operations as long as you want, but eventually, if you don't have safety to back up those operations, your operations is going to get you in trouble, okay? You're going to get pulled into a scale. You're going to get audited. You're going to get into an accident. Something's going to happen that is going to make DOT look at you and go, holy cow, you don't have any safety policies in place. So I want you all to build your company on the foundation of safety. And I am going to tell you how to do that in this podcast, Sonic Safety. So I want it to be entertaining and I want it to be informative. And then the last piece I got for this podcast, I want to have interesting guests, okay? I don't want to just have the same old. You hear the same questions repeated in different phrasing, and you've heard the answers before. Okay, there are a lot of great transportation podcasts out there. Okay, and a lot of great people have been on those transportation podcasts, myself included. If you have been following me, you know that I've done What the Truck. I've been on Truck Nation, the Truck Stop one. I've been on Logistics Lounge. I've been on Cents Per Mile. I've been on a lot of them. Okay. And the people that are running those podcasts are really good at asking those certain questions. Okay. I want to kind of focus on some other stuff. I like to know about people. Here's the deal. I know, and you all know, like, if you're working with someone in trucking, you can figure out really quickly if they know what they're talking about. I've been in trucking since the late 90s, okay? I can ask, like, in fact, I was just talking to a guy the other day. He said, how can you figure out where someone is in the safety department by just asking a couple questions? I came up with 5 questions. And maybe in a future episode, I'll give you those 5 questions that I came up with. And in those 5 questions, I can figure out if you know what you're talking about when it comes to safety and compliance and maintenance and a couple other pieces. So if I have a guest on my show on Sonic Safety, you know that they know what they're talking about, okay? If I say that this is a safety person, you know that they're a safety person. I've already done the vetting. I don't need to do the vetting on the episode here. But what I really, really like doing is I love getting to know the people for who they are, okay? I want to know how they got into the industry. I want to know why they got into the industry. I want to know why, like, a lot of people ask me, why did you gravitate towards safety? And it's a pretty simple answer, because I was in operations for my entire trucking life, basically. And it's a really long story. Maybe someday I'll tell it on the podcast here, but long story short, I was working, my father had a small trucking company and I was helping him out with that. And again, I was just doing operations for him. Okay. I knew enough about safety to be dangerous, as they like to say, but I didn't know why we should follow safety. I didn't think, I figured DOT's not knocking on my door. I'm all right. I'm doing fine. Okay. We're fine. Until one day DOT did come knocking on our door, because I had to realize that at the end of the first year of operations that they do an audit on you. And we were not looking good at all on paper. We had very few pieces of information in driver qualification files. Our e-logs were in shambles because, we had drivers do them, but we weren't checking them. We didn't have drug and alcohol policies. I mean, we had pre-employment drug screens, but like randoms and stuff like that, we weren't really paying attention to it because we were operations. We want to make money. And because of that, our trucking company or my father's trucking company got put in a conditional rating. And that sucks. If you've ever been in a conditional rating, you know that is a tough rating to be in. Okay, brokers stop working with you. Insurance costs go up. There's other things that you can't get loans from banks, and equipment vendors stop calling you, stuff like that. It's a tough position to be in, and so because of that, I started going, well, okay, we should really pay attention to safety here now. And I started going down the rabbit hole. And that is how I got into safety. Is because for a very personal reason. Like, I wanted to save my father's company. Like, that's why I got interested in it. And because I got interested and I did my research and I talked to people and all that kind of stuff, we were able to bring it back to satisfactory. Everything went on as it should. So that's why I got into safety. I've been in trucking my whole life. I was planning on being operations basically for the rest of my life. I was going to go down director of operations, maybe general manager. And, but it's like, that's there, but safety, that's what I want to help people with. So that's kind of the path I chose. So when I have a guest on, that's what I want to talk about. I can give you the regulations. I've been in trucking long enough. I know how operations work. I think I've worked in every facet of a trucking company. I've done billing, I've done maintenance, I've done warehousing, I've done operations, I've done safety. Okay. I even did IT for a while. That wasn't my forte. But if I have a guest on, we're going to get into who they are. I know they know what they're talking about, But who are they? Why are they in this industry? Why did they gravitate towards what they did? And so on and so forth. So the vision for Sonic Safety. I want to make it entertaining. I want to make it informative. And I want to make it interesting. Okay? That is my goal. That is my vision for Sonic Safety. I am so happy that you guys have decided to come along on this journey with me. If you have questions that you want me to answer either on the podcast or, off the podcast, if you have safety questions or you want to get a hold of me, again, Sam, S-A-M, pretty simple, Sam at Watsman.com. Okay? You can check out my website, Watsman.com. All the information is on there as well. That's going to do it for today's episode. It's just kind of a small, quick little introduction. Next week, we'll get into some safety and compliance talk. We're going to talk about at the end of year 2024. Okay, they came out with their critical and acute violations top 10 list. It's not as funny as the Dave Letterman top 10 list, but it is still informative, entertaining, and interesting, quite frankly. And we're going to talk about that and what those violations mean and how you can avoid them. All right. So here's the deal. I want to give a quick shout out again to Ewing Safety and Industrial. They are fantastic people. Okay. Fantastic people. Go check them out. One of the things I always like to wrap up my shows with, I started doing it with Trucking Safety. I'm going to continue on with it with Sonic Safety. I am a man of faith, and I want to leave you with this Bible verse, okay, to go on out and have a great day. Here we go. It's Matthew 13:44. It says this: the kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in a field. When a man found it, he hid it again, and then in his joy went and sold all that he had and bought that field. Hey, man, chase after the kingdom of heaven, okay? Do it. You won't regret it. And until then, I'll see you next time.